On June 8, 1924, the wind was unforgiving on the upper slopes of Mount Everest. Snow and clouds swirled around the mountain's summit like icy specters. High above 26,000 feet, two men pressed upward, garbed in wool, leather, and sheer determination. Their names were George Mallory and Andrew Irvine. Mallory, an Englishman with a reputation for poetic ambition, once answered the question, "Why climb Everest?" with a simple, "Because it's there." Irvine, just 22, was an engineering prodigy, invaluable for his expertise with the oxygen apparatus both men desperately relied on. On this day, in the thin death zone air, they were attempting the final push to the top of the world. But did they make it? Did Mallory and Irvine scale Mount Everest in 1924, nearly 3 decades before the officially recognized first ascent by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953? Let's unravel what's known and what remains an enduring mystery. The 1924 British Mount Everest Expedition was not the first to attempt the summit, but spirits were high and ambitions higher. Several climbers had already made progress, establishing camps high on the north face, pushing the limits of early 20th century mountaineering. The final assault fell to Mallory and Irvine. Early on June 8th, the two set out from their high camp at roughly 26,800 feet. Their plan was audacious: to reach the summit and return the same day. They carried oxygen bottles, basic climbing equipment, and a camera to immortalize their potential victory. From below, their teammate, Noel Odell, watched through swirling clouds. At around 12:50 p.m., he spotted 2 black dots moving upwards, nearing the base of the final pyramid, as he later described. He watched as the whole summit ridge and final peak became unveiled, and claimed to see the 2 figures moving as one, nearing the top. And then, from that moment, nothing. The clouds closed in, swallowing the climbers from view. Mallory and Irvine vanished, never to return. Within days, the mountain accepted defeat as certain. Search parties scoured the slopes for weeks, but to no avail. Now the question was not merely if they'd summited, but even what happened to them at all. The world was left with only tantalizing clues and Odell's ambiguous sighting. Over the coming decades, debate simmered. Had Mallory and Irvine actually reached the top? Most observers pointed to the staggering difficulties: the primitive equipment, the treacherous second step, and the cruel lack of oxygen, arguing it was near impossible for even such experienced climbers. Others, however, clung to faith in their skill, experience, and grit, noting Mallory's unparalleled drive and Irvine's technical prowess. In 1999, a new expedition fanned the flames of the old mystery. An American team searching high on the north face discovered, to their astonishment, a body. It was Mallory, perfectly preserved by ice, lying face down just below the summit ridge. His broken leg suggested a fall, and the rope marks around his waist implied he and Irvine were still roped together when tragedy struck. Several tantalizing clues lay with the body. Notably, Mallory did not have the photograph of his wife, Ruth, which he'd pledged to leave on the summit if he succeeded. And while they found letters, money, and his altimeter, the camera, believed to hold photographic evidence of a possible summit, was missing. With technological advances, climbing historians and mountaineers have retraced their steps, attempting to answer three burning questions. Did they make it past the notorious second step, notorious for its sheer cliffs and exposure? Could they have survived the wind, the thin air, and the crushing exhaustion? And if so, why had no unambiguous sign, no photo, no relic, no diary entry ever surfaced to prove it? Modern climbers who have scaled Everest by Mallory and Irvine's 1924 route using oxygen and carrying similar equipment believe that while possible, it would have been exceedingly difficult. The second step alone, with its 40-foot vertical climb at over 28,000 feet, presents a major obstacle, and yet Mallory was resourceful, skilled, and driven almost to obsession. So, after a century of myth and speculation, what's the answer? Did George Mallory and Andrew Irvine scale Mount Everest in 1924? We may never know with absolute certainty. There's no photographic proof, no triumphant written account stowed in a summit cairn. Most historians now believe they likely perished before reaching the top, possibly after a heroic attempt on the upper slopes. Yet the mystery endures, drawing climbers, historians, and dreamers into its folds year after year. What remains is the spirit, the sense of adventure, determination, and the willingness to reach for the impossible. Mallory and Irvine's fate may be lost to the snows of Everest, but the question they left behind keeps the world wondering. What does it really mean to stand on top of the world? And what would you risk simply because it's there?